Josh, you're filming and releasing a video on April 1st. Is this an April Fool's joke or are you doing VEDA? Who knows? Who knows? But today I'm going to talk to you about my favourite albums, like ever. First up, The Near Future by I Fight Dragons. The Near Future, or Project Atma as it was known during pre-production, is I Fight Dragons' second full studio album. It was released in December 2014 in the limited edition vinyl and on digital formats. And the album is split into two parts. Side A is a 20-minute long Rush-style rock opera. It follows the story of a young man who meets an alien girl who's then roped into an adventure where they go and try and save her grandfather. Yeah, and then side B is 5 more tracks from I Fight Dragons in that same chiptune, pop rock, brilliant kind of style that we're used to from that artist, from that band. Artists? The Near Future is a good example of what an album should be. It isn't just songs thrown together on a disc and go, there you go, that's some songs we wrote. It's carefully planned, it's carefully polished. This album takes their signature Nintendo-inspired sound, polishes off the edges, rounds them out, and then sort of fills the gap that polishing left with amazingly brilliant guitar solos and infectious riffs from guitarist Paki Ludholm. I maintain that his face-melting solo in No Strings is almost definitely like the most face-melting solo I've ever heard in my life. In addition to that, we hear Chad Van Damme's brilliantly rhythmic and powerful drums in tracks like Battle, or Harry Rowe's brilliantly funky bass lines in songs like Pretend, and of course Brian Mazzafari's outstanding vocals and lyrics. It just makes this one of the greatest rock albums that I've ever listened to. If you want to fall in love with an album this year, make this the album you fall in love with. The second album I want to talk to you about is American Idiot by Green Day. After a successful career built up in the 1990s, but then a lackluster 2000 album with Warning, and then a compilation album and international super hits and subsequent rarities collection shenanigans, people thought that they'd heard the last of Green Day. That was, of course, until they released their 7th studio album, American Idiot. This is an album that everyone who listens to contemporary rock music has heard of. This album captured a generation of misfits and teens in a post-9/11 world, in the same way that Dookie captured the hearts of deadbeat schoolboys back in 1994. But this wasn't the Green Day that wrote the songs about masturbation and girls. Oh no. This is a new, political and angry Billy Joe Armstrong, Mike Dirnt, and Trey Cool. American Idiot was their greatest commercial and critical success to date. It brought them back into the public eye and made them into one of the most culturally relevant bands of the 2000s. Which isn't surprising considering the caliber of songs on American Idiot. I mean, this is the album that brought the world songs like Holiday, Letterbomb, Wake Me Up With Some Sad Ends, and of course the now iconic song American Idiot. No other album of the 21st century has captivated and inspired so many young people in the same way that American Idiot did. A high-concept rock opera. Well done, Green Day. You changed my 10-year-old life, and you continue to inspire me today. I didn't mention at the top of this video that this list isn't in order. These are just 5 albums that I really like. Like, I'm not saying I like Near Future more than I like American Idiot, and so on and so forth. And on that note, the third album I'm going to talk to you about today is The Resistance by Muse. What bands do you think of when you think of British music? The Beatles, the Stones, Queen, the Sex Pistols, all of which are, you know, good and they're valid answers. But might I give you this album to muse on? The Resistance is a great example of a well-executed, highbrow, progressive rock brilliance. Matt Bellamy's razor-sharp guitar and flawless falsetto, combined with the rhythm delights of Christopher Wolstenholme, or how the hell do you pronounce Chris's surname, on bass, and Dominic Howard, thank you for having a normal name, on drums. And in addition to that, like a full symphonic orchestra, you arrive at a Muse album where some tracks wouldn't feel out of place in a very respectable opera, while other tracks rock harder than Andrew WK at Spring Break. Think Queen, but Brian May's guitar is completely made of chrome and running through 400 foot pedals. This album is loosely based, I think, on the novel 1984 by George Orwell. You can really tell it when you listen to it, and it's really very good. And it's a really good companion album. If you've ever read 1984, please do listen to The Resistance. It starts off with the fantastic anti-establishment, anthem uprising with a hard bass. And then it ends with like a symphonic symphony in 3 parts. There is something for everyone in the Resistance, but most of all it's for people who enjoy music. Listen to me, change your evening. Lie down and listen to this album. You'll be changed. You'll emerge, you'll run out your house, you'll start chanting on the streets to your Orwellian government. They will not control us. And now for something completely different, Permission to Land. Hold on. Aren't the Darkness a joke band? I'm not surprised you asked that. In many ways they're some of the more flamboyant bands to come out of Britain in the 2000s. I mean, just look at Justin Hawkins. However, please don't let their out there glam rock image push you off. I think the Darkness are one of the most underrated bands in terms of music ever. In rock. Yeah, I said that. This is the album that made everybody just want to grow their hair, run on stage, Les Paul in hand, and play solo after solo through a wall of Marshall amps. And that's why I love it. The obvious comparison to other great solo and riff-led bands like AC/DC or Thin Lizzy is obvious. It goes without saying, but this is a revival I can get behind. Permission to Land, however, is far from a tribute to classic rock album. It's a powerhouse of great songs, heavy riffs, and face-melting solos. In fact, the album has created the odd classic of its own. This album's breakout single, I Believe in a Thing Called Love, is arguably just as recognisable to the general public as songs like Back in Black or Crazy Crazy Nights, if not more recognisable. Much of this instantly recognisable sound comes from the lead singer Justin Hawkins' insane head voice and his brother, the lead guitarist's infectious solos. They'll have you dancing around your room, air guitar in hand, for hours and hours upon end. Permission to Land may be the most fun album I own, but also one of the most brilliant. If you haven't heard this album, I highly suggest that you correct that. And finally, an album that I don't have a physical copy of, so there's a picture of it in the corner. Artificial Heart by Jonathan Coulton. This is the part of the list where I have to admit that I'm a huge nerd, and part of being a nerd is, of course, loving the music of Jonathan Coulton. As much as I adore his previous work on Thing a Week, etc., Artificial Heart is Coulton's first proper studio album, and my god, does it show. The production value is perhaps 10 times that of his other work, and the music is just fantastic. Every song is masterfully put together, sung, and performed. Though taking a slightly more serious tone than his other work, each song still retains the classic Coulton flair. Personal favourites from the album is the song Nemesis, featuring John Roderick. It's a very simple duet, almost a love song, sort of saying, let me be the one to be your nemesis. It's at one time extremely nerdy, and on the other side it's just really, really touching. There are songs like Today with Your Wife, which is just touching and very open to interpretation as to what it means. And then there's just like weirdly fun songs like Je suis Rick Springfield, which is just a crazy song, which is for some reason written in French. It's just really fun. And of course, you've got wonderful, wonderful performances of his songs from the Portal series. We've got Still Alive with a guest vocalist who I can't remember who she is, but she's brilliant in it. There's a theremin in it, and it's really well produced, and I have to admit, it's better than GLaDOS's version. Oh, I hope she doesn't, put me through testing for that, but it really is. In addition, the version of Want You Gone with the Elegant 2 is great. It's very similar to the version actually in the game Portal 2, but it's got much more actual instruments in it rather than electronic stuff, and it sounds brilliant. The entire album sounds brilliant, and I love it. Please check out Jonathan Coulton's Artificial Heart. It's real. So, those were my favourite albums of all time, in no particular order. If you want to tell me what your favourite albums are, you can tell me in the comments, you can tell me on Twitter, which at 24 hours a year, you can tell me over on my blog posts. There's a companion blog post to go along with this video, so you can contact me at contact24hoursayear@gmail.com, and you can use any of those things to send me a video response if you want, because you can't do that through YouTube anymore. This might be VEDA. I highly doubt it though. I've never done VEDA before. Never successfully done VEDA. Not even during 24 hours a year. Which is remarkable, really, considering what I was meant to be making videos every day for 24 hours a year anyway. Alright, I will maybe see you tomorrow.